Yeah.
Have Lumpy Space Princess.
Can you do what?
Have Lumpy Space Princess.
Oh, did you get present passive and perfect active?
I got President Passive.
You got Lumpy Space Princess. Good choice. She's the best one. All right, guys, let's go ahead and actually start class. We're going to talk about how you guys did on your declension template for online listeners. That's what we're doing this week for at least today, tomorrow, and then probably Thursday or Friday. We'll do it either before Jeopardy or the quiz, but not both. We're checking in on where we're at with the first two declensions since we're trying to learn the third declension on Tuesday. So we're here. We're going to do some more spot translating of the spooky, creepy, disgusting Atria story. Tomorrow we're going to check the homework. Did everybody hear that the homework is not 1 through 3, but 4 through 9? Yeah, and it's up there on the board, 4 through 9. Good, very good, excellent. A lot of people maybe are already done, so you don't have to do anything today except think about the fact that on Friday, 2 of these homework translations will be on a translation quiz that you're gonna do after we check the homework on Wednesday and play a game of Jeopardy on Thursday, through which we will do even more review. Genevieve? Yep, and make sure we are not talking, especially computer kids included, honestly, sorry. These are the first 2 declensions. Raise your hand if you got all the first. Everybody, I actually need to know this. Who got most or all of the first declension? So I'm hoping, okay, so I am seeing most hands. That's good. I should see most hands. Raise your hand if you got first and all or most of second. So I'm seeing like maybe a little less than half for that. Okay, so our goal for the last time we do this, either on Thursday or Friday, is for you guys to get most of first and second. If you have a couple gaps here and here, if you kind of mix up the dative with something like that's fine. But remember, I want you to really know the nominative, to really know the accusative, really know the genitive, and then dative and ablative. If those are kind of secondary at this point, that's like fine. And then vocative, I hope you never, ever, ever remember the vocative. Kind of kidding. Okay. Yeah, I could like dwell on these endings and talk about them more, but I think we've done that enough at this point. And it's like you kind of should be familiar enough to kind of fill in any blanks you might still have. It's fine if you have a few blanks. If you're like, oh, second declension, I only know like half of it. That's fine right now. But by next week, it'd be really helpful if you like did know most of it by then. Remember, I think a lot of people forget how nominative even starts in the second declension. It starts off with US and R and long I, right? Once you get those down, the rest should start to come pretty easily. Second declension really likes U's, I's, and O's, right? We see a U here, we see I's here, we see O's and U's and orum. We see O's and I's and dative and ablative, and we see U's and O's and accusative. That might sound random to you, but it's like there are patterns, right? They're just kind of like patterns that aren't super easy to kind of pick up on. Jaden?
Why does the IS ending for dative and ablative show up in 3 different declensions?
Well, so what are you referring to in the third? Which ending are you referring to in the third, Jaden? The genitive?
Yeah.
So that is not the same because it's just IS. It's not long IS. So those macros are important. So yeah, if you know dative plural for first declension, then you know dative plural and ablative plural for first and second declension. Dative and ablative plural. But when we get third declension, you'll see that the genitive in third declension is an IS, but that's not long IS. It's just IS. So third declension nominative is a question mark. Then it's IS. Then it's long I, which is weird. Then it's EM, which is not too weird. Then it's just an E, which is not too weird. And then long ES, UM, which I hate. And then IBIS and IBIS instead of long IS. So IBIS endings will be fun, the easier spot. And long ES for accusative plural and nominative plural. So third is not too bad. Honestly, there's only like it's like 6 or 7 endings in the third declension, and they're just kind of like reused and mixed around and stuff. Okay, so these are the normal present tense endings. OSD must have sent. You guys don't need to be writing this on your template anymore at this point. I am insisting that you guys do know this. Some people, I think, blank out, and you're still not like applying this knowledge quickly enough sometimes. Like sometimes I'll have kids look at a second person singular verb and be like, what pronoun do you use as a subject for a second person singular verb? And it takes them like a little too long to think of you. Like they eventually think of you, but that should be something that is like almost instant at this point. For OST, must, tis, and int, I, you, he, she, it, we, y'all, and they, right? And then in blue here we have sum and possum. So I'll dwell on this one for a little longer. Remember, possum just piggybacks off of the weirdness of sumese. So I have sum here, which means I am. But if I just add POS to it, it's possum, and it means I am able. What's a better way to say possum than I am able? What's a quicker way with two less syllables? Yeah, I can. Yeah. A lot of people forget that. They like blank out and they forget that can is the best way to translate the present tense of possum. So S is you are, whereas potes is you are able, aka you can, right? So sum essay is super weird in Latin because sometimes it starts with an S, sometimes it starts with an E. It's almost like how in English the verb be becomes am, becomes are, becomes is. Very weird, right? So because sum is weird with either starting with S or starting with E, possum is also a little weird. Sometimes it's POSSUM, sometimes it's POTES. So it's POT for the ones that start with E. POTEST. So S is it is, where potes is it is able or it can, so on and so forth. And then the imperfect and future all start with POTER, Harry Potter with one T. And then if you see an A after the R, it's imperfect. So I could, you could, Potteros, Potterot, it could, Potterons, we could, etc. Could is the best way to translate the imperfect. We're future, which is light blue here. I know that's too close to normal blue, present tense. But if you see O, an I, or a U after the R, that's future. So I owe you money in the future. Those are our future tense vowels, I owe you. Whereas A is the one imperfect vowel. So we kind of like imperfect a little better. It's a little more consistent. I do. Okay, let's get back to this creepy story. I'm going to explain these images once we finish the story, but a little more background on Atreus here. So we're learning about Atreus. What did Atreus think was going on with Thyestes, his brother? Anyone?
Yeah. Thyestes, he thought his brother was having an affair with his wife.
Yeah, so Atreus thought Thyestes, his brother, was having some kind of affair with his wife or something. Maybe they were just hanging out. It was totally harmless. But Atreus is obviously a very jealous and paranoid person, so he freaks out. He says, "Oh, I know. The most logical thing to do is to do what?" And you, I don't know. Yeah, so we kind of like ended right there. But, and I don't know if Atreus is aware of this. This actually runs in his blood. So we mentioned Pelops at the beginning of the story. He's the dad of Thyestes and Atreus. Pelops. And Pelops' father, Tantalus, this guy right here, he actually started this off. Now, Tantalus apparently was friendly with the gods early on. So this painting right here, this is Tantalus, Atreus' grandfather, not Atreus. That's why he looks tiny, and these are like gods, so they're bigger. Apparently, Tantalus was in good with the gods. The gods kind of liked him, enjoyed his company. They would have him over for a feast on Mount Olympus. They'd all hang out. And eventually, Tantalus gets this weird idea that he needs to trick the gods. I guess he gets annoyed that they're all like high and mighty and like all knowing and powerful. So he says, I know a way for a meek human like myself to get one over on them. And so he does the same thing kind of to his kid Pelops. He chops him up, puts him in a meal, and tries to get the gods to like eat a human unknowingly. And the gods figured out, Zeus is like, wait, what's going on? Like, this is a straight up person in my porridge. Like, what are you doing? And they freak out, and they punish Tantalus for the rest of his life by putting him in a part of the underworld where, y'all know the word tantalized?
Mm-hmm.
It's like when you smell something really good and you like, you're almost like drooling because you want something really bad. He's here in this part of the underworld where every time he tries to reach up and get these grapes, the grapes recede away from him and they're out of, he can't get them. And the water, when he tries to drink it, it starts to drain. So somehow I guess there's some magic involved that does keep him alive, but he's surrounded by like hydration and sustenance that he can't get to. So he's constantly in a state of tantalization and he's being teased basically. And the gods are like, they feel bad for Pelops. So they actually rebuild Pelops. He's missing a shoulder because I think Zeus actually did manage to eat the shoulder before they realized what was happening. But they like rebuild Pelops. And Pelops goes on to have a happy marriage with Hippodamia. And he has Thyestes and Atreus as children. Genevieve? Cool story, right?
Yeah.
Weird.
So, like, let's say he didn't want to drink. He was just like let him drink the water, and then like all of a sudden he wouldn't want to drink.
Yeah, it seems like you could trick it if he just like fell, you know, like stop trying to stand up. But I guess it's so magical that as soon as his head gets like starts to lower, the water just immediately drains out. I mean, it's crazy. Like, why would they have this set up in the underworld like just for this scenario? I don't know, but that's apparently what's happening. All right. Oh, and this reminds me of another god. This is the only story we skipped. There was one story before the Python and Apollo story. Huh? Yeah, Pandora's Box. So my kids from like 2 years ago have done this, but we ended up skipping it just because like we would have done it like the third week or something, and I wanted to just do textbook translations instead of translations of stories at that point. But it wasn't that amazing of a story. Basically, it's just that Prometheus, who is a Titan, meaning he is of the same generation as Zeus's dad, Cronus or Saturn, the Roman Saturn. He is this Titan guy who's known for bringing fire to the first men, like taking fire from Olympus and bringing it to the first men, which the gods weren't really planning for. Also, he's known for this weird thing where like Zeus figures out how animal sacrifices should work by consulting Prometheus, and Prometheus kind of tricks him by saying like, "Hey, like look at this portion of bones and fat. Isn't that the portion you want instead of the meat portion? Because there's like less meat, whereas there's a ton of fat and bones." And Zeus is like, "Oh, since I don't know how human biology works and how like nutrients work, yeah, I want the fat and the bones." And so Prometheus is like, "Nice." And like that way, humans when they sacrifice after like this is how they explain how the Greeks explain why when they sacrifice animals they would keep the meat so they could actually eat it, whereas the bones and the fat and sometimes blood would be part of the offering to the gods, the part that they would, waste. According to me, according to them, they were doing something for a religious reason, but obviously they were just it was a ceremonial thing. And it'd be bad if they had to sacrifice meat, right? That'd be bad. So Prometheus they blame him for why they don't have to sacrifice him. Kind of a bit of bad explanation of that, but anyway. So the gods do not like Prometheus. He's very tricky. The gods make the first woman. Because apparently there's a window of time where just human men exist, not a human woman, and that is Pandora here. Prometheus's brother and Prometheus are kind of like in charge of hanging out with her, and she's given a jar or a box, depending on the version, full of like all of the baths in the world, and the gods tell her do not open it. It's just like a symbolic like temptation, basically. But eventually she gives in. She opens it up. All of the evils of the world fly out, but there is like a little sliver of hope, which I guess is in the form of some kind of like magical energy that remains in the box. So anyway, he's punished by for being a trickster in terms of bringing fire to humans and getting one over on Zeus. He's punished by being chained to a rock and being bothered by a bird every day. He's not totally naked there. All right. Anyway, so a lot of characters in Greek mythology tick off the gods and then get punished for it. You mean Prometheus? Yeah, that's true. Yeah, just like with Tantalus, there has to be some kind of spell going on so that he can because apparently like the birds mess with him every day and they fly off and he recovers in time for the next day so the birds can do it all over again. Well, they mostly just get at his liver, I think. Apparently, what Dennis? I know. Yeah, they must enjoy it. There's some kind of scavenging bird that is carnivorous. Are all birds carnivorous? No, just birds of prey. Gabby? Yep. All right, let's finish this story. So Genevieve? Oh, weird. Interesting. I didn't know that detail. We kind of left off around here, right? Okay. Nekot Kuera. So neko nekare is our new verb that means to kill, not to die. That'd be morior. But neko nekare, we get words like necromancy and necromancer from it, like people who manipulate the dead in fantasy novels. So nekot here, is it first, second, or third person? Hayden, first, second, or third person?
Can we translate after this? Where he kills the boys. He has to see his own.
Oh, y'all did? Okay. So that's fine. We'll skip ahead real quick, but I just want to ask Hayden this. First, second, or third person? No? So let's make sure we know how to do this, Hayden. It's ending with a T, right? So if it's ending with a T, is it first, second, or third? Yes, third, right? Good. So we need a nominative singular noun to be the subject of this verb. Do we see a nominative singular before the semicolon? We just see pueros. Pueros is not nominative. So we would use he, she, or it. we're probably still talking about Atreus, so we use he. He kills the Fueros. Fueros is what case, anyone?
The direct object.
Yeah, just OS, guys. I really want y'all to know that that is a second declension accusative plural ending there. So it's not the boys kill something. It's that he, a dropped subject, kills the boys. Let's do this real quick, guys. I think it's important. Let's start with Caden. Caden, if a verb ends in O, the pronoun used as the subject is. If a verb ends in O, the pronoun used as the subject is. Well, it is first person, but everyone allowed?
I.
Yeah, so I. If it's S, it's. If it's T, it's. Yeah, and so usually with T, it's actually a nominative singular, but sometimes there is no nominative singular, like here, and so we just use here. Must is we. Must is. This is. NT is. O is. Must is. S is. This. Just Lucia, Angie, and Landon. O is just the three I said. S is must is P is. You have three of them. This is NT is good. Just Brecton, Olivia, and Amber. O is must is S. This. This is y'all, right? Remember, S and TIS are kind of the same. They're kind of both you, but this one more specifically is like you all or y'all. Let's do almost done, but Grayson, Aiden, and Hannah. Oh, must. S. Good. And then a big group here: Caden, David, Amanda, Genevieve, Jenna, and Abby. O. Must. S. This. T. NT. And now everybody, I'm going to do imperfect in future. If I point to mom, say I was verbing. If I point to Bo, say I will verb. Like the orange ones are future tense. So everyone, mom, boss, boss, go. Not imperfect anymore. I will verb this.
You will.
Bits.
It will.
Bombus.
We were.
We were verbing. We verbed is okay, but we were verbing is better. Bimus. We will verb. Just Lucia, Angie, Jaden, and Landon. Bont.
They
will.
Not will.
They are.
They were verbing and bunt.
They
will verb. Bont.
They were.
Verbing. Bunt.
They will.
Okay. All right. Anyway, okay. So he kills the boys. I think Thyestes is a new subject. And then I see suos, I see philios, and I see mortuos. I need everyone to look at these three words and understand that they are all going together because they all end in os. If you don't understand that, let me know now. But what case are suos, philios, mortuos, Olivia? What case are all three of these verbs? I mean words. They're nouns and adjectives. Accusative? Yeah, we just saw the second declension masculine accusative with pueros. So since we have two in a row now, this is your chance to make sure you know forever that when nouns end in os, that's an accusative plural, second declension masculine, okay? So, but we don't know what to do with these yet. They're accusative, right? We never know what to do with our direct objects until we have our subject and our verb. We think Thyestes is the subject. We don't have a verb yet. So Thyestes, something about his own, that's what this word means. Something about sons, and something about dead sons, so his own dead sons. In mensa means on the table. And what does video, videiri mean, Avery? Yeah, so let's put it all together. Thyestes, his own dead sons on the table. Okay. Sorry I made you translate such a messed up sentence. Yeah, so there we go. We have our direct object. And then what case was mensa? I'm giving it away with my color coding, but Aiden, what case is mensa? Let's ask Priscilla. It's ablative. Aiden, it's ablative because A, well, why do you know for sure it's ablative, Priscilla, even though there's no words around it? The macron, right? That makes it ablative immediately. But then it's also next to a preposition. So it's the object of what preposition, Aiden? And so it's the object of the preposition. The only word we have right now that's the same in English and Latin. In, yeah, it's the object of in. So it's, and we wouldn't say in the table, we would say on the table. So again, this is not actually, this is Tantalus tricking the gods. It's not Atreus tricking his brother. I don't have, well, maybe eventually I have a painting of that. But we'll get to it eventually. Okay. Yes. Yeah. So we don't know. It's kind of unclear if the Estes like took a bite. It just says that like he registers that it's his son's. So obviously after that he's not going to keep eating. Hopefully he didn't eat it all because that would be really gross. But if you can come get it, it's right there. Okay. Who can read these two quick sentences? Anyone? Jaden?
Omnizer. Fiestas. Nihil nunc habes.
Good. And so there is an English word that looks just like this, and we would pronounce it miser, but this comes from miserum, which means miserable or wretched or unfortunate. So what are the first three words, Jaden? It's just
Oh, miserable or unfortunate Fiestas.
Yeah, right. Oh, unfortunate, or oh, poor Thyestes, basically. Nihil. What does nihil mean? Anyone out loud? Something about nothing. Nunc means now, and what does habeo? Habeo means to have. And now, who has is habe's first, second, or third person? Hannah, first, second, or third person? Oh, I see. So what letter does it end with? Yeah, and the pronoun we use as the subject of the second singular verb is what, Gabby? Very good. Yeah, so who can put it all together? Abby, can you put it all together for me? So, you. What does the verb mean? Turn that B into a V. So you have now. Yeah, you can kind of put now in a bunch of different. You can say now you have nothing now. You now have nothing. You have now nothing. I guess you can literally put it anywhere. Some of them sound weirder than others, but you can kind of put it wherever. So how is Neo? Okay, if I ever see someone throw another note, I'm gonna read it in front of the entire class and then send that person to Killingsworth. Final warning, guys. The notes are like not funny anymore. Don't leave them in desks. Never ever leave trash in desks. I think y'all are getting a little better about that. I never know who was the person doing it in the first place, but it's gotta stop. Okay, you now have nothing. Nihil, if y'all remember, is indeclinable. It doesn't change its ending ever. It's always the same looking, but it technically can function as different kinds of nouns, meaning like a subject or direct object. How is it functioning here? Is it a subject or direct object? What? What is nothing doing here? You have nothing. You verb nothing. The subject verbs nothing. So what would nothing be? Subject, direct object, object of prep, indirect object, what? Anyone? Yeah, it's direct, and right, because it's coming after the verb. You verb nothing. Have is our verb. You have nothing. So it is a direct object. Good. We've mostly seen nihil as a direct object, but I think we've seen it as a subject as well. All right. Who can translate these first three words real quick? Said, oh, atria. Avery, thank you. Yeah, but oh, Atreus. So the narrator's like addressing Atreus at this point. He had a vocative here with Thyestes. Oh, wretched or poor Thyestes. And now he's addressing Atreus in a vocative as well. Oh, but oh, Atreus. What does propter mean? Anyone out loud? Propter mean. Amber, do you remember what propter means? It's a pretty important word. Gabby? Yeah, it means on account of or because of. And what's the case of the noun or noun and adjectives that follow propter? Anyone? It's not a normal preposition that takes an ablative. It takes a. Nope, doesn't make a genitive. Nope, doesn't make it dative. It takes an accusative weirdly. So accusative up until propter had only just been direct object as its function. But now sometimes we'll have accusatives as the object of propter. Don't really worry about it too much. But so what words go together after propter? Who can tell me all the words that go together after propter? Anyone? Genevieve? So magna and tua definitely go with propter. Is there anything else? Yeah, vitia as well, right? It's vitia, not light. That'd be vita. So yeah, tua magna and vitia all go together. So what is this? It's on account of what? Tua magna vitia. Who can translate that? Tua magna vitia. Lana? Not life though. That'd be vita. It has an I after the T, so it's not life. It's Yeah, good. So on account of your great crimes, they're actually plural, because vitia is from vitium, it's a neuter noun, so that A means it's plural. So on account of your great crimes, and then I see Phil E2. There is no comma here, but I kind of wish there was. It would help us kind of understand this sentence a little easier, maybe. Remember, propter, everything that goes with propter, it's like extra stuff. It kind of goes off to the side. You don't have to worry about it after you're done translating it. At that point, you need to find like the meatier parts of your sentence, like the subject and the verb. David? Oh, yeah. Okay. I fixed it on some sides last period, but I didn't fix it on all the sides. So, Atreus, on account of your great crimes, ... Now we still need a subject. We don't actually know what the subject of the sentence is. Because Atreus, that was just like a little vocative thing. Like the narrator's talking to Atreus in a kind of weird way, in like a narrator type way. But, Atreus, on account of your great crimes, Phil E. Tui. What should we do with Phil E. Tui? They clearly go together. I guess, but so I go to the verb when I hit a direct object for sure. But I usually look at nouns to see if I have a nominative before I find my verb. It's only when I hit an accusative that like I immediately go find that verb. Well, what case are Philly E Tilly? Anyone? I might not need to rush to my verb just yet. Definitely when I hit magnas poinos. Plural. Yeah, they could be plural nominative, right? I see long eyes. Why isn't it your son? Because that's what it would be, your son. The nominative plural. That's all it is. We still don't have a subject yet. So on account of your great crimes, your sons, something about great penalties, but I don't know what to do with those yet because they're what case, everyone? Babe?
They are
My favorite case.
accusative.
Accusative. So they're accusative. I don't know what to do with them yet. I need a verb, right? We don't mess with our accusative until we have a subject and a verb set up. So I know your sons is a subject. Don't know what to do with the direct object. Okay, there's my verb. And then Chicken Boy is reminding us that when do dare, to give, has penalties as the object, it's not to give penalties, it's to pay penalties. And that, so this is to give, right? So it's like your sons give. But what tense is it? It's not present tense. So what tense is da flunt? Amber, what tense is it? Future or imperfect? Yeah, future. What vowel makes you think of future? Yeah, the U, right? Think of futuristic blunt. It's not spelled that way, actually, so that's how we remember it. So yeah, if we see I, O, or U towards the verb ending, that might indicate futurity, where A is the big vowel for imperfect, aka past tense. So it's your sons what? Not give, not were giving, your sons, anyone? Will give, but it won't be give either. Will pay great penalty. Good. A great penalty. I need to make great penalty red. Okay, so this is what he's talking about. What are the sons in question, anyone? If y'all have read a little children's Homer, y'all are going to read Odyssey and Iliad next fall. What sons, what two sons is he referring to? No? Genevieve? They're not mentioned in the story, but they're being referenced here. It's Agamemnon, a king of Mycenae, which is a part of Greece, and Menelaus, a king of Sparta, another part of Greece. They're the two brothers who will take all of these Greek armies over to Troy after Menelaus' wife Helen leaves them for a Trojan prince, and that's what the Trojan War is. That hasn't happened yet, but basically this poem is stating that like all of that bad luck that this family experiences starts with Atreus, or maybe Tantalus, Atreus' grandfather. for tricking the gods and or betraying his brother by feeding his kids to him. So don't do that, guys. It's not a good idea. All right, last one. What's in enemies here? Let's just translate in enemies just like straight up. What would that be, Landon? Yeah, maybe like in the spirits or in the mind. So that's like an ablative object of in. In the spirits, filiorum tuorum? What case is filiorum tuorum? Aiden? Good. So that'd be what? In the spirits. What's filiorum? We've seen this word a lot in the reading. What is filius, anyone? Sons, okay. And what does tua mean? It means, yeah. So in the spirits, good. Because they're genitive, it's in the spirits or minds of your sons. And then monavid. Okay, we have a verb. What person is this verb? Jenna, is this first, second, or third person? Say it again. No, so OST. This ends with T. 1, 2, 3. OST. So this is third. So we would need to keep your it because I don't see a nominative singular. So let's just ignore the subject. Actually, how would we translate? What tense is monavid? It means to remain, right? Bit though. Lucia, is it future or imperfect? Yeah. So let's just ignore the subject and say, in the spirits of your son, not was remaining, not remains, but David will remain, and then tua culpa into, oh, maybe that's our subject. Our subject's actually coming after the verb. That's weird. Very weird in English, not that weird in Latin, actually. So in the spirits of your sons will remain tua culpa antiqua. What is tua culpa antiqua? Mea culpa is my fault. Tua culpa is, and it's not just your fault, but your antiqua fault. So will remain your ancient fault, your ancient subject. Erit perpetua. Erit is future again. So what are we going to say about that? Erit perpetua. Future tense. Blank be perpetual, right? Future tense. He or she or it. Probably it, right? Because we're probably talking about the faults. Yeah, it will be lasting. It will be forever. We could also say, we could use there right here. In the spirits of your son, there will remain your ancient fault. That's called a expletive construction in grammar. That's a fancy word for it. I call it the Dorothy and Wizard of Oz construction because of how she says, there is no place like home when she's clicking her heels. There is no place like home. Let's see. So what's the subject in the sentence, there is no place like home? Anyone? What's the subject in that sentence? Is it there? It's not there. There's a pronoun. Anna? Home? Home's a good guess. Technically, it's not quite home. There is no place like home. What is it?
Like.
Nope, can't be like. Like, say, what is like? Like an adverb, I guess. Correction? Yeah, it'd be place or no place. So the subject is happening after the verb. The verb is. There is no subject like a predicate nominative. So home is a predicate nominative. It's a fancy word for a thing a subject being related to. But anyway, that construction is just a way of delaying your subject. If you need for your subject to come after the verb like we had it here, you can use there. You can start it off with there. There will remain your ancient, or, well, actually, there will, in the spirits of your son, there will remain your ancient fault. Actually, that's okay. But we don't need there in this case. Anyway, quid debemus. What person number is debemus? First, second, or third person? Anyone out loud? Debemus, first, second, or third? First, singular, plural. Good. So the pronoun we use as the subject of it is we. So what we owe? Is it going to be owe here, right? Because debeo can mean owe, like debt or debit. Or is it going to be, what's the other option for debeo, deberi? Jaden? Someone said it. Who said it? David? Yeah, good. What should we, because that's how we ask the question. We don't say what we should. We're going to say, what should we? Something about day, tuis, and cities. I don't know what to do with those yet. Oh, here we go. What should we cogitare? What should we think? Do we think about or from things? So what should we think about tuis and cities? About your and cities. Yeah, what do we think about your plots, oh Atreus? What do we think about the fact that you killed your brother's children and then tried to make them cannibalize them? We should think you're like a really messed up dude. So here's a gross comic that's being slightly covered up, but this is Thyestes running from the house where all this happened. Thyestes fled, retching and leveling a fearsome curse against Atreus and all his house. And may something really bad happen to your children, Atreus, my brother, you son of Pelops, because their dad is Pelops. This looks like that's Thyestes like pointing at the dish, being like, "Is that my son?" And this is, I think, when Tantalus. This is Tantalus, their grandfather, Atreus' grandfather. The first time he gets caught for trying to serve up Pelops on a dish. Which did I mention? Pelops he's resurrected basically. The gods feel bad for him, and they put him back together. So crazy stuff.
Do you know that as a dog just like give someone back their life?
Apparently, I want to go back to the timeline. I need this slide with the timeline. No, it's not one arm. Oh, and I'm frozen. Okay. So, yes, there are reverberations of this event throughout Greek mythology for generations to come, right? This is Atreus right here. So after this happens, Thyestes' original kids are dead. But he goes on to remarry and has his third child, Aegisthus. He'll come into play in a second. But Atreus has Agamemnon and Menelaus, already mentioned. Agamemnon marries Clytemnestra, and then he helps Menelaus go off to this Trojan War to fight for 10 years because Helen flees Menelaus. Agamemnon, when he finally comes back from that battle, which he had to sacrifice his daughter Iphigenia to even get there, so he's already a bad dad. He finally gets back after 10 years, and in the meantime, when he was gone, Aegisthus, the son of Thyestes, actually kind of started to get a little friendly with Clytemnestra here, the wife of Agamemnon, and she falls in love with Aegisthus, the son of Thyestes. I'm getting confused with this thing. And Aegisthus convinces her to kill Agamemnon the day he gets back, and that's what she does. This is her right after she has disposed of poor Agamemnon, and then she is promptly killed by her children, Orestes and Electra. So this family truly is cursed, right? Bad family. This is Agamemnon here. This is him sleeping right before she goes in there. And most verses, she gets someone into the bathtub after a 10-year war. You know, you really want to take a shower after a 10-year war. And she ruins it for him. Yeah, I want to sleep for like a month. And then again, this is Iphigenia being sacrificed. So this is just a very unfortunate thing. But in a way, Thyestes gets his revenge this way, right? Like, Atreus really messes with Thyestes intensely by doing this stuff to his children. But Thyestes gets back at Atreus by having his son, Thyestes didn't plan this, but it happened. His son kind of takes Agamemnon's wife from him and gets her to kill Agamemnon. So anyway, you guys will read more about these characters in Iliad next fall. But buckle up, because it's a tragic, ancient, mythological kind of time. So you guys can take a couple minutes to work on your homework if you want, but we are done for the day. Computer kids, any thoughts, questions, concerns? No? Are y'all glad y'all didn't have to translate this story when y'all were in Latin 1?
I think Shepard would not be allowed to do this story.
No, Shepard would be into it and like explain it to us, and he would just like still sound really upbeat and positive, even when he was describing murder.
Their parents didn't let them watch me back.
But they knew a lot of Greek myths, though, so I think they were okay with the violence in Greek myth. Just anyway, Shepard, if you see this, hope you all are doing good, and I should end this recording.